My name is Crystal. I'm the programs coordinator at C4AA, and my pronouns are she, her. Before we dive into programming, we do just want to thank you all again for being here, and we want to acknowledge that this is a very challenging time for probably all of us and for several reasons. And the things happening across the nation and in the world just kind of make this work even more important. And um, helping people's voices be heard and making sure we can elect leaders that truly reflect our values, whatever they may be, is why we do this work. So we just want to acknowledge that and thank y'all again for being here.
Thanks, Crystal. I'm Rachel Gita-Karp, she, her. I'm the program director of Unstoppable Voters at the Center for Artistic Activism, and we're joined by many amazing people today, including Rebecca Bray, if you want to say hello to start us off.
Sure. I'm Rebecca Bray. I'm the executive director of the Center for Artistic Activism.
Thanks. And so at the Center for Artistic Activism, we help people use their own creativity and culture to affect power. And we do that by leading trainings and workshops, doing research, and sharing resources. We've supported people doing this work on a really, really wide range of issues. That list is not complete. And we've done this all over the world, supporting thousands of people in person and also thousands more like this online. And it's not to scale, as you can tell. And we're all here because of Unstoppable Voters, which was one of our main programs at the center. And it's all about bringing more creativity and innovation to protecting the freedom to vote here in the United States. This is a bit of a snapshot of the reach of the program since we started doing this in 2020. And with all of the work that we've done, we've seen some things that are really effective in this civic engagement space. And we wanted to kick things off with a fun new video made by someone that you'll hear more from in a few minutes. But it gives you like some things to chew on to start out, and also gives you a sense of how we approach this civic engagement work and how we'd love to do that with you next year.
Hey y'all, I just ordered takeout from the Center for Artistic Activism. Let's dig in. All right, now, so let's see what we got. Looks like this came from their special Unstoppable Voters menu, which is all about giving voting champions the fuel they need for innovative, impactful civic engagement work. And let's see what takeaway number one is. Oh, okay, objectives. We want to craft strong objectives because without the right tools, it turns into a mess. In particular, we want to break our work into SMARTY objectives that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, inclusive, and equitable. Let's see what else we got. A burger made out of the wishes of 1,000 unicorns. Impossible, you say? Actually, this unicorn wish burger is takeaway number 2, reminding us that it's important to start with the impossible ideas. They're more possible than you think. For real, once you're really clear on what you want to do, let yourself imagine the impossible ideas first. A giant whale kite, political exorcisms, signs spinning, seals, you name it, right? Because once we start with the impossible ideas, we'll see that they're actually way more possible than we think. Oh, wow. Takeaway number 3. Look at this, they're trying something new here. Just like it's so important to test out and prototype your ideas. In just 20 minutes, you can make a quick prototype. Well, with a sketch, you can make a model out of paper, out of cardboard, a digital collage, and in that short period of time, you can learn so much about your project and save yourself time down the line. Hey, they threw in an extra dessert. That's because they know how important it is to keep our work fun. But for real, y'all, what a fun meal. There's so much to chew on. We learned how to craft strong objectives, start with the impossible ideas, prototype, and keep it fun. We hope you enjoyed this meal too. Make sure you go to Center for Artistic Activism's website at c4aa.org. That's where you can learn more and get your own bag of delicious takeaway. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna eat all that.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you so much to Mark Kendall, one of our UV fellows, and Cool Productions for that video. I'm trying not to like crack up right now, even though I've seen it probably 10 times. So how do we do these things though and keep all the fun in 2024? And how can we protect voters and voting and our intersectional freedoms moving forward? I think a lot of us have been asking those questions. And so to start, we're gonna spend a moment thinking about that future we're trying to build. And in our trainings at C4AA, we often do an exercise called Think, Feel, Do. And it's about what we want our work to accomplish with our audiences. So we're actually gonna ask y'all this. So pretend we've reached the end of the 2024 election cycle. And if we've worked hard and won big, what do you want to be thinking? What do you want to be feeling? And what do you want to have done? And we'd love for you to share this in the chat. And we do want to say we are nonpartisan 501c3 nonprofit, so please keep it nonpartisan. But yeah, what do you want to think, feel, and do? We'll give you a moment and then, yeah, share that in the chat. Love it. So Jordan said elation at huge turnout of young voters and community members of color. Great, they're coming in. Holly says, feel hopeful and positive, think an ambitious 100-day agenda for progress, do plan to put that agenda into action. Rachel, do you see any you want to shout out?
Wow, they're coming in fast now. Danielle, thinking, thank goodness, after all of this hard work, there is a pathway to amazing things: federal voting rights, reproductive freedom, LGBTQ plus rights, immigration rights, and more. I think Rajni is thinking that there is still somewhat of a democracy left. That would be great. Yeah, feeling like we've done everything we could to improve voter turnout. That's really great, Anna. Yeah, well, feel free to keep these coming in. Huge turnout, increased turnout on campus. Amazing, and everyone who wants to vote can do that.
Love that.
Adventure, courageous, great. So I think we're all quite in agreement here. And we've been thinking really hard about how we can support you and other voting champions across the country so that we can make sure we think, feel, and do all of these things in the coming year. And we put together a really wide array of programs. And so in the next 47 minutes, we're going to really focus on these first three because they're ones that you can access right now. We have applications open for these fellowships. We now have, for the first time, this toolkit available for you to download. We're going to hear from some people who have their hands in all these programs too, who are with us on the call. And then we're going to touch on these other ways that we're going to support everyone further starting in 2024 when the calendar changes. And then we'll also have time for questions that any of you may have. You can put them in the chat as we're going as well, and we'll try to catch them there. But Crystal, let's start with our fellowship.
Yeah, so first we're going to talk about our Unstoppable Voters flagship program for leaders in civic engagement. This is our fellowship program. And this is for leaders at civic engagement organizations to take boundary pushing election ideas from concept to reality. You'll get on the ground support from the expert C4AA team, and you'll join a cohort of creative voting champions from around the country. And we've had some really beautiful connections through our cohorts over the last couple of years. And we're going to just go through some really key, crucial information about this fellowship. So it has three pretty flexible phases: exploration and strategizing, which are going to be January to February. This is where we're going to kick things off with a multi-day in-person retreat. So this is really special, especially in this like remote world we live in. We're all going to gather together in person. And fellows enter a space where imagination has no limits, and you're trained in artistic activism approaches that can unleash innovation in your work. And then these fellows return home and transform the spark of ideas from the retreat into a concrete fellowship action plan. And along the way, there's one-on-one mentorship with us at C4AA. The second phase is from February to June, and it's a prototyping and action. And this is where fellows work to incubate and test key aspects of the plans before enacting those actions in their home communities. And this is in a timeline that the fellow deems most conducive to their own work and their team and their project. And C4AA will actually travel to spend 3 days on the ground to support the fellow and their org in carrying out a successful action. And then the third phase, June to November, is iteration and integration. And so this is after the actions, and fellows will work with C4AA to develop a tailored plan for how to integrate key lessons learned and increase impact in all election actions through the remainder of the 2024 cycle. And again, if you have any questions that pop up, just go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll try to get to them. But through the fellowship, each fellow receives a project stipend of $4,000, a personal stipend of not $1,200, but $1,500, and reimbursement for all travel expenses to and from the in-person retreat. So there's so many valuable aspects of the fellowship. We really are excited to be able to offer some more funding for this next year, and we do think it can help with these creative actions for the big 2024 election cycle. And so what does the fellowship look like? We actually want you to hear from some of our fellows this year so that we're not just like talking at you this whole time and assuming that we know what it is like for them. So we have Sarah Mortensen here, and Sarah, if you could just share a bit about the fellowship and you and what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here and to talk about the fellowship. So my name is Sarah Mortensen. I'm the campaigns director at an organization called Fandom Forward, and we do social justice organizing within fan communities. So when Rachel reached out to me a while ago about something kind of unrelated to this fellowship, but then when we hopped on a call together and she mentioned this Unstoppable Voters Fellowship, I just immediately saw the connections between what I was doing at my organization, working within pop culture and fandom, and the concept of artistic activism. Even if I didn't quite know what that meant yet, I just really just had this like gut instinct that I would gain a lot from working with the Center for Artistic Activism. So that's kind of why I wanted to apply. I just thought that just based on like the website of the Center for Artistic Activism and what I had talked to Rachel about, I really thought that we could benefit from hearing from other folks that are really approaching this work from that place of like creativity, passion, joy. And in terms of like what I've gotten out of the fellowship, I mean, I feel like it has literally been like revolutionary for my work. I was literally just on a call with one of my teammates where we're kind of trying to rethink and restructure how we are approaching our campaign planning process, and we are using like my worksheet from the fellowship as kind of our basis for that discussion. And so everything that I've learned and the way that the folks at Center for Artistic Activism have taken us through this process of planning an action and executing an action has been really, really helpful for me. I use things that I've learned from their trainings in my work all the time now. And the in-person retreat in particular was very like important, I think. I really love that that's how the fellowship kind of starts out. It really helped us as a cohort make those connections and root for each other along the way. And yeah, I really just can't recommend it enough. I think the staff has been so supportive along the way, and working with a cohort of people who are using these artistic and creative methods as well, has just been like so inspiring and uplifting and motivating for my own work. So yeah, I obviously recommend applying for the fellowship, and have really, really enjoyed my part in it this year.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That is so, so kind of you. We did not tell her to say any of that, truly. Like, that was just so beautiful to hear. Thank you. And next, we're going to hear from Mark Kendall, who you all just saw, our star actor in our new video.
Hey y'all, my name is Mark. I'm a comedian. I'm based out of Atlanta, and my production company, Cool, uses comedy to create content to, encourage civic engagement. And so I first heard about the Center for Artistic Activism and the Unstoppable Voters Fellowship through Fair Count and Janine Abrams and Fair Count, and they had collaborated with them in the past, and they're like, you got to check out this fellowship. And I'm so glad that I did. And I just wanted to share some of what was beneficial for me from the experience that might be helpful for you all. So first off, this experience was very energizing, so the time that, shout out Janine, the time that I got to spend with my fellows in the retreat, as well as with Crystal, Rachel, RCM, Steve, everyone, they really walk you through their approach to artistic activism while also making it very clear, like, hey, you have to make this work for yourself. It's not so much about repeating things that have been done, but so much learning from that and finding like what you bring to artistic activism. And there's something about that I just found very energizing. The experience of getting to bounce ideas off of people that are also, passionate about civic engagement was really key. And, as I mentioned about the retreat and the follow-up meetings that you have with them, it becomes very informative. Like I've learned so much about different approaches to building campaigns, taking on projects, things that I am excited to continue to use in my work going forward. I also just found that it was just so expansive, so the training giving me new ways to like approach work, to surprise people, to bring joy to people, as well as just like, a lot of my fellow cohort members. It's like I'm going to continue to, collaborate with them after this. And that's so exciting because you get to meet a lot of really great people through that. And I also just want to give a shout out to the site visits. They come to, your city, your town, and they walk you through the training, as well as I was also able to bring other artist friends of mine from my artist community to help them with things. And so it's been cool how they've had the C4AA training and have been able to apply it to the work that they've been doing as well, whether it's like short films, their theater, their organization. So that's been really great. So if you find that these things are things that might be interesting to you, I would just say that it is very much worth your time and to consider applying. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Very, very sweet and kind, and lovely to hear those things too. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, some of you might be like, okay, but doing this in 2024, like it might excite you, but you might find yourself thinking like this is a ton of work and time required during one of the most important elections of our lives. And we totally feel you. But we do want to say, like after the in-person retreat, the remaining program elements, including the virtual one-on-one mentorship and monthly cohort meetings, are meant to fit easily within everyone's schedules. We fully adopt a model of flexibility to ensure the program adds to and not detracts from the crucial work that you're already doing. And further, we want to ensure the fellowship can provide a supportive environment and community for purposeful pauses and reflection that combat burnout rather than contribute to it. And that is our Unstoppable Voters Fellowship. Applications are now open. You can apply by November 13th. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to put them in the chat.
Yeah. And Crystal, if you could put the link in the chat too,
Yes.
that would be great.
Yeah.
And while Crystal gets that, I'll talk about our next big program. It's a new fellowship, our faculty fellowship. And I'm sure everyone is on this call. They know that the youth vote is really important, and Unstoppable Voters has done a lot of work in supporting youth vote in different ways over the years. And we found one of the most effective methods is to work with faculty and to get civic engagement lessons and other projects really embedded into the classroom. And so that's what this opportunity is all about. So this faculty fellowship is for leaders in higher education to develop innovative civic engagement lessons to mobilize their students. And then there'll be a cohort, hopefully of about 5 faculty from all across the country. So like Mark and Sarah were saying, you'll get to exchange perspectives and get insight from peers at institutions all over the US. And then we're really big on research and figuring out what is really working. And so we want to publish what you find really works so that it can be shared really widely. Each fellow will get support in developing some pilot program in the spring, and then guidance to more robustly implement the program in the fall. What that looks like is going to be really specific to each fellow based on your institution, your different course loads in the spring and the fall. And like Crystal was saying about the other fellowship, we welcome that flexibility. We want to find something that's going to work for you and add to your own plans. We're also going to give you a whole library of artistic activism lessons that you can incorporate and other tools and resources. We also are partnering with different current faculty members at institutions around the country who have done this work already and who can give insight. And again, we'll give you a $1,500 stipend, a little bit more than we first said, and then up to $500 to implement ideas that your students come up with. And if you're wondering what this can look like, again, it can look like a whole range of things. One of our main partners is Associate Professor Brandon Bauer, who works at St. Norbert College in Wisconsin. He's going to be able to join the very end of the call to answer any questions folks might have. But just to share what he's incorporated creative ideas into his various classes in lots of different ways. But one of his favorites is when he was trying to mobilize the students in Wisconsin to vote in the spring. They had a very important election in Wisconsin. And he incorporated this game called the Redistricting Loteria, which was actually a game that we helped develop in a different workshop we led around fair districting a few years ago. But this was made by an advocate and organizer in Wisconsin, Yuseli Flores. And it's this take on this very popular game that's similar to bingo, but played in Latinx communities. And it changes all the cards. So it's like a really creative way to learn about redistricting and gerrymandering. And Yuseli made it very specific to Wisconsin and the challenges that Wisconsin has. And so Brandon used this so that his students would understand the issues of gerrymandering and help them understand the stakes of this spring election. And just to quote him, I even had a student that semester that was a formal tribal judge and congressional aide from the Oneida Nation that was really moved by the way that project educated the other students about the issue of gerrymandering and shared the negative effect the partisan gerrymandered maps had on representation of that reservation. So that's one way that incorporating creativity into the classwork really helped and really mobilized students. But there are lots of ways. And so Crystal has another example to share.
Yeah, so we work with a collective of folks out in Arizona called Artists Who Vote, and they were formed at Arizona State University under the kind of leadership from Professor Gregory Sale there. And they're a collective of professors and community and students, and we have worked with them a few years now to just to spread civic engagement work on campus and in the community. And they've done this in really fun ways, like wearing a mail-in ballot, which you'll see in this next photo. And we have worked with them. We actually were just there last month working with them at a festival there to really just spread the joy of voting and to implement this like in different ways in their class and in the community. And so some of the fellowship outcomes that were kind of within the work we did in Arizona include tested syllabi, curricula, and lessons to encourage creative civic engagement, deeper understanding of artistic activism and methods of teaching it in higher education, documentation of a public engagement project developed with students that test ideas developed within the fellowship. And that's kind of like a lot of the work we did in Arizona. And then publication of research and lessons with the Center for Artistic Activism. And this could be you. You could be this happy as Professor Gregory Sale. And this is actually during the action we did with them in September last year in Arizona.
Yeah. And so applications for that are available for about 1 more week. And we'll put the link for that in the chat as well. And now,
hello. We really wanted to make sure, because we know so many people are embarking on campaigns in the coming year around voting, we wanted to make sure that we gave access to all these amazing resources and materials and training kinds of things that we've developed and refined over the past many years to as many people as we can, because not everyone can do a fellowship, but we wanted to make this kind of work accessible. So we created this Unleashing Unstoppable Voters Creative Campaign Toolkit, which is launching today. It's now available. What it has is exercises, it has tools, case studies, and a lot more to really help you move forward throughout your entire campaign process, integrating creativity into every part. And so, for example, we break down the campaign process into 5 really easy to follow steps. We have a checklist, so it keeps you on track as you go through the different campaign areas with your team or collaborators, whoever you're working with. And there's very practical tools and tips, examples from things that we've seen really work, because we've worked with so many groups, individuals and organizations who've done this. And so we're taking all these amazing lessons that have been learned and putting them into one place here. And there's also exercises, of course. So these are things that, say you're in a meeting with your team and you're like, how do we do a great brainstorming exercise so we're not kind of going back to traditional methods and we're opening up the possibilities? And we have all these things that we've used in our trainings that we know really help a group move to a different level with how they're thinking about a campaign throughout the process. So that is available now. And Roshni.
Yeah, we wanted to hear from Roshni, who works at the Atlanta Regional Commission, about their work and excitement around incorporating more artistic activism.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's really lovely to be here. My name is Roshni Thakur, and I am the head of community engagement and culture at the Atlanta Regional Commission, which is a planning agency that covers 10 counties in Metro Atlanta. And so the purpose of my job is to think about community engagement in a creative way, to support and to get people who have been excluded from planning processes for generations and to get them involved. And so I was lucky enough to go to the convening when they came to Atlanta, and I was just really impressed. Well, first of all, I'm a socially engaged artist, and I'm working with a bunch of urban planners, and no offense, but I don't have a planner brain. There's a different brain for sure. And so what I really appreciated was that conference, we went through each step with these beautiful worksheets. And so I'm really excited about the toolkit that they just produced. But that all of this work can be really translatable to the work if you're even thinking about any kind of like engagement and getting people involved in an issue. And so we are trying to get people involved in like public policies, about like public meetings and things like that. And I have been scheming in translating how these worksheets can be and these ideas can be translated internally for the other staff, so planners can execute this kind of work too with their communities. And then also when we're out there working in different communities, asking them about like housing, to be how to speak up for affordable housing meetings and things like that. So I think the biggest takeaway for me was that how translatable this is, and how fun it was. And I was just really impressed by that beautiful combination. So thank you. I don't know if there's anything else, but that was pretty much it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you,
Bye.
Rashmi. Such a good set of examples of how this stuff really is applicable to people's work. So thank you for that. So yes, the toolkit is now available. We've been working on it for the past year, and thanks in part to amazing funding from David Rockefeller Fund, we're able to provide it to you. And so we're really excited. So share that also with others.
And we also just want to touch on a few of the other things that'll be available next year. One is our bold new program to de-risk experimentation and civic engagement work, especially in a time that's as hard as 2024. And we're partnering with this amazing activist, Ishtar, about this. We've worked with her on so many different things over the years, and she's based in South Africa. So the timeline, she couldn't join right now, but we have a video from her to get you all excited.
The world's on fire. The world's on fire, literally and figuratively. And those of us fighting in social and environmental justice know that it's time to try something different, because what we're doing now isn't working. And even if it is working, it's not going to work for forever. We know this word innovation is bandied about, that we live in a world where to come up with groundbreaking, innovative ideas, we need to move fast and break things. But we don't have that luxury. If we move fast, we risk breaking communities. We risk jeopardizing lives. But what if I were to tell you that there's a way to de-risk experiments for social and environmental justice? Consider this an invitation from the Center for Artistic Activism to join us in our experiment for experiments. We're inviting everyone in the Center's alumni community to participate in our 4x4x4s. What is this, you may ask? This is where we'll be funding 4 projects, $4,000 to run a 4-week experiment for voting activism in 2024. This is an opportunity to try something different, unconventional, maybe something a little bit absurd without the limitations of perfectionism. Because what matters most is not whether your experiment succeeded, but what you learned from it and how these learnings will go on to make your next strategy even more effective. Yes, this model comes from the business world, but we have seen how providing people who care about love and peace and justice, providing them a space to come together and to dream of a better world, even better, create a prototype of that world, how this can provide a radical shift that we need when looking at today's problems. So looking forward to experimenting with you. And by the way, my name is Ishtar, and I'll be one of your co-conspirators and cheerleaders on this wild ride.
Thanks. So we will have a lot more information about that in mid-January, and we're focusing on doing these experiments early in 2024 so that whatever we learn from them can continue to be incorporated throughout the election season.
Great. And something else new that we're offering next year that we're really excited about is our creative consulting happy hours. So if you have an event planned but need ideas for how to make it more successful, or you're not sure what tactic to choose to accomplish your pro voter goal, or you're trying something new and just want some feedback from like people you can trust, we want to help. And we have, as kind of Rachel talked about a little bit about Unstoppable Voters earlier on, we've supported over 100 organizations and over 1,000 individuals in some of the most creative, impactful voting work that's happened in the past 4 years. And with 2024 being such a major election year, we want to share all we've learned with as many people as possible. And so we'll have online consulting slots open every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, from the start of the year all the way through election day. And so we'll provide that link closer to the beginning of the year for you all, but you'll be able to sign up for 20-minute slots every Friday, and we really hope to see y'all there. We love kind of consulting with you on these things.
And you also might have ideas for ways that we can collaborate or partner with you or your organization besides all the things that we just said. So, for example, Cleveland Votes is an organization that reached out to us because they wanted to look at how they could take their voting work and connect it to the cultural landscape of Cleveland. We do research on arts and activism and how they interact. And so we're doing a big research project with them, surveying all these cultural institutions and artists in Cleveland to see how that can inform a creative strategy for Cleveland Votes. So, we love working with organizations on this kind of creative strategy, on research and assessment, training staff, and things like that. So if you have an idea for that, then please reach out. If you want to learn more about it, then we're happy to chat. Let us know. And we also have a quick form, right, Rachel, online that people can fill out if you are kind of interested in any of this, but and you want us to know about your interest, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah, you can click off there, like if you want first news about the 4x4x4, we'll just make sure to send that directly to you when it becomes available next year. So you can fill that out, and we'll keep track of that. Also, if you're like, okay, like what is an Unstoppable Voters workshop or training? We actually have 2 coming up in November that you are all welcome to join. It's in partnership with this really amazing voting art exhibit that is in far upstate New York through SUNY Oneonta, one of the colleges up there, and also Golden Artist Colors. And so it's an exhibit called Our Votes, Our Stories. And we're doing, if there was anyone in the Oneonta area, the center's co-founder, Steve Lambert, and I will be there next Wednesday, November 1st, for an in-person training. But for everyone else, we're doing an online training on November 8th. It's 2 hours, it's free, and we'll share some of our favorite examples of inspiring creative voting activism, and then work with you to start dreaming up a creative voting campaign or around any of the other intersectional issues that you care about. If you're already in some way along in a process, there's also space to advance your work on that. Thank you, Crystal. Yeah, there's more information there.
And we would also just really love and appreciate if you could help us spread the word about all of this programming. Every little bit helps. And so we have this amplification toolkit that Rachel and I both just put in the chat. And it has some helpful language, some graphics, things like that you're welcome to share. So please email it out, post it on social, anywhere you can send it. That would be great. And then please also just follow us and subscribe so you can sign up for our newsletter. This information is here too in the chat, and follow us on social. We're at the C4AA.
And also just if you want to just email us to partner or for any other reason, I'm putting an email in the chat as well.